years ago, Winnipeg and Toronto met in the East Finals. Strong defense and just enough offense enabled the Argos to score an upset win in Winnipeg. Last year, the Blue Bombers turned the tables, dealing the 14-4 Argos a stunning loss in the final in the Argos' last game with Exhibition Stadium as their home. Now, for the third year in a row, it's Winnipeg and Toronto again, this time in a semi-final meeting to see who meets Hamilton in the East Final. And it'll be played in the third different venue, the spectacular Sky Dome in Toronto. Mike Clemens with the football, and we're underway at the Sky Dome, and Clemens is down at the Argo 34-yard line as Toronto will have the football first to begin this East semifinal game. A 16-yard return by Clemens, and Rick Johnson, just over a month now back from retirement, will lead the Argos.
And you wouldn't think even now he'd be settled like he would have been when he was in Calgary. I mentioned composure. Last week in Hamilton, he lost it early. And what that happens is mechanically it throws him off. He doesn't set up, he throws off his back foot, and he doesn't read defenses as clearly. Bobo Bilvich hopes he holds that composure.
Jeff Boyd back at wide receiver for the Argos, missed the second half of the season. Johnson hands off to Finnerty right side, and he gets a couple across the 35 up maybe to the 37 for a gain of 2, perhaps 3 yards for the Argos.
Trying to get that ball into a gap. Finnerty has that bursting ability, though I think hampered by a hamstring a little bit this year. We haven't seen that explosiveness that he takes, that quick up in and out and then back up the field.
Finnerty has been an outstanding post-game performer. He's rushed for 321 yards in 3 postseason games in his short CFL career. 2nd and 7. Argos at their 37. Johnson gets some time and throws, and it's almost picked off by the leading interceptor in the CFL, Rod Hill. Mazzotti, the intended receiver.
Mazzotti runs a curl back inside, and Hill, the veteran, plays to the outside, keeps good position, but is able to jump the football once it's thrown. And when the ball's thrown off target and something like that, if the defensive back in this position, Hill has the right spot, he can pick it off.
3rd down and 7. Argos can't move the ball in their first possession. And we're not surprised by that, because neither of these teams has had any success offensively or any to speak of in the last little while. Jeff Smith with a short kick by Harper, backpedaling, catching it on the run and down at the Blue Bomber 36-yard line. And Lee Saltz, who hasn't played in a playoff game of any kind since high school, he went to Temple University, comes out and is in a very pressure-packed situation. Neil?
I think that's a pretty good way to describe it, but I don't think he's had those feelings as the week's gone on. I mean, as a quarterback, he says, probably thinks to himself, I go in, I execute, I know the plays. If I get some support, we'll be fine. And I think that's the level of confidence he has to take into this game.
Saltz had a hard time remembering the last time he played in a playoff game. 1st and 10 for Saltz and the Bombers at their 36.5. Saltz passes on 1st down, and it's batted down by the Argo defensive line, who came hard on their first play of the game. We asked Mike Riley about intangibles in this game. He said, well, we're due.
Well, we're due. Quick set drop. You see Saltz almost seems like he wasn't comfortable dropping back. Blitzing, lots of heat. Don Moen from one side.
Willie Fears got through, the former Blue Bomber, to hit Saltz as he tried to throw the ball. 2nd and 10 Bombers from their 37. Saltz again in the pocket, throws over the middle and completes it to Rick House, but for a short gain, 5 yards, and the Blue Bombers will have to punt. Saltz got the ball away in good-looking fashion that time.
Well, we talked about Bobo Bilvich wanting to rattle Saltz early. He's done that the first play and in this play. This time, Floyd Salazar from the safety had snuck up and come right up the middle. Gaines had gone one way, Salazar the other. So they're not going to back off one bit.
Bombers look like they want to throw some short passes early, Neil, but the problem with that is you have to take a short drop, and the defense has a chance to give you a good shot, and they did. 3rd down and 5 from the 42 for the Blue Bombers. Bob Cameron, the 2nd leading punter in the CFL this season, kicks to Braisley. Flags go down at the Toronto 32-yard line. Just nicely underway at the Sky Dome. Not quite 3 minutes into the Eastern semifinal. 6:23 left in the first quarter. This is the trend we expected, a low-scoring, defensive-dominated game. That's the way it's been so far. The Argos, after a Winnipeg single, 1st and 10 from their 35. The Bombers have their safety Cummings out and go with 4 linebackers. Johnson throws on 1st down to Tolbert, complete. Out of bounds at the Argo 39-yard line for a gain of 4.
You know, what Winnipeg's doing is they're lining up on the field before the ball snap with 13 players. Then they run Cummings out as the safety. Here's that 4-4. They do a lot of different things from it, but it's designed, number one, to stop the running game.
Hatsiano in at the right defensive end. He's the man that goes in when Cummings comes out. 2nd down and 6, Argos at their 39. And it's a draw to Finnerty. Nice moves across the 45 up to the 49. 1st down, Argos. Finnerty did much of that on his own, as he has been known to do.
Well, not only the moves, but eluding the tacklers. They got a pretty good shot, just straight setup draw. Nothing fancy about it, but 2 people. Jones, Gray from behind. And it's that high stepping action that allows Finnerty to move away. It's tough to hold on to a guy who's pumping his knees like crazy. That's why he breaks the tackles.
1 first down each now. The Argos first of the game. 1st and 10 at their 49. The toss to Finnerty right side. And he gets around the corner and out near center field for a gain of about 6.
Well, we talked about Finnerty's ability in bursting. I said we hadn't seen him much, and a lot of it maybe because of a sore hamstring. Bob O'Billory said, I think he's healthier going into this game than he has been in a long time, and I think we're seeing it from his leg action. Something as simple, as subtle as that has shown us very early that he has maybe that popping power to get away from tacklers and to get up holes.
Beckstead, Kardash, Skemp, Prunster, Schultz, the people who make it possible for Finnerty to make gains like that one. 2nd down and 3. Argos just on Winnipeg's side of center field. Finnerty again through the middle, very close to a Toronto 1st down. Well, the 2 games that the Argos won against Winnipeg this season, they ran for more than 150 yards in each. Finnerty himself 152 yards in one of them.
Misdirection, the ability to change direction. Holes are designed where they're drawn up in the blackboard, but they don't always materialize like that. And to make that adjustment takes a special type of move and a special type of back.
Well, it's 3rd down and inches, and the Argos, and you hear the booing, the Argos are going to punt. And the fans here don't like it. It's surprising that they wouldn't gamble on 3rd. It looks like about a foot to go. Glenn Harper gets a good punt off. Jeff Smith at the Winnipeg 6-yard line, across the 10 and down at the 10-yard line of Winnipeg. And the winner of this game will play Hamilton in the East Final next weekend. We have 3.5 minutes left. 1st quarter at the Sky Dome. Blue Bombers from their 11 now. Lee Salt's toss to Tim Jesse, left side. And Jesse is hit and knocked out of bounds at the 13. Has a gain of maybe 2.
I think slowly but surely Rick Johnson is feeling more comfortable. I guess earlier on last week against Hamilton, he was shaken a bit, got out of his game plan. They put Konjemi in. Then he came back in the game and felt more comfortable. The one thing he's not afraid to do, though, is comment on his own abilities or how he has done in a game. And many times he'll come up and say, hey, I'm just brutal. That kind of honesty I think has to help them.
Well, the other players like that. He said that after the game with Hamilton last week. Lee Salt's quarterback draw, and look at the middle open up. Saltz with a few moves at the end is up to the Winnipeg 47-yard line.
Mike Rowley told us yesterday that they are going to call all the plays for Saltz, and Saltz wants it that way. But in situations that present themselves like this, you have to be able to audible. What a great job by Lyle Bauer, Molly, and David Black, the 3 interior linemen, of taking those people and quickly turning their body to the outside. Saltz reads it 2 steps back and downfield.
34-yard gain on a quarterback draw. Bauer is playing with a badly sprained ankle. Stretched ligaments and everything else in there, but he said, I'm going to play. Here it is again. Lee Saltz has another Winnipeg 1st down. I don't know if that one was called or not, but Saltz took off with it again and gives Winnipeg an 11-yard gain.
A great angle to see what the offensive linemen are going to try to do. Watch them turn the bodies. They'll try to get impact and then spin the guy. They create a door when they do that. Even when there was a stunt like it was Kulka coming inside, it happens quickly enough that quick movement by the offensive lineman creates that gap.
I thought maybe that was an ad lib by Saltz, but in looking at it again, it appeared as though it was called. Do you think so?
Well, I think there's maybe a call at the very last minute that he makes.
From the Argo 52. Saltz is in trouble, and he'll lose 8 yards this time.
Once again, the Argos bringing some extra people. Chris Gaines, a real asset to this defensive team for the Argos. Missed a few games, but they're glad to have him back. From the outside, though, remember, he's a middle linebacker. Many times you'll see him come up the middle. Toronto is also moving some people around. Don Moen, Willie Pless, Gaines. They're going to try to confuse Saltz in the coverage that they're going to be going in.
Gaines only played 4 games this year for the Argos, but Bob Obilovich ever talking glowing terms about him. Second down and close to 18 for the Bombers from their 50. Saltz throws to James Murphy, complete at the 40. A wobbly pass, but the accuracy was good. And Saltz and Murphy combined for a big first down.
A big first down over the middle. The middle is vacated. Murphy might break this off a bit earlier. It's hard to say, but generally when he sees an opening, he will make that read to get inside of the corner. This time Brazeley to give Saltz more area and to be able to throw the ball quicker.
Argos would normally have Ed Berry on that corner where Brazeley is, but Berry has back spasms as James Murphy goes wide left this time. Tuttle to the right. Bombers 1st and 10, Argo 40-yard line. Saltz with time, throws, completes to Tuttle. And he's in close to the Toronto 32-yard line for a gain of 7 or 8.
Terry Tuttle doesn't have a sock stuffed in his shirt or a blanket. That's a flak jacket, but only wearing it to one side. He's got a very sore, as you see him put his hand there, very sore rib area. Again, making adjustments. He wants to come in, but sees where the coverage and the drops of the linebackers are. He sort of stays still and waits for the ball. Saltz makes that adjustment too and throws him the ball. He comes up. He's back on the sidelines now.
Missed a month with cracked ribs and hurting again. 2nd and a couple. Blue Bombers at the Argo 32. The handoff to Jesse, right side, and he's tripped up to the 25-yard line for a first down. Brazeley made the stop. There is a flag on the play.
Well, that's a dream for a running back. Short yardage situation. Got a mound of players in front of you, and all of a sudden you pop loose and there's just one man.
Well, that'll wipe out the Winnipeg first down. A procedure call.
Procedure. Winnipeg number 31. Repeat, 2nd down.
Terry Cochran is called for procedure. In the 3 games these two teams played against one another, they combined to take 76 penalties. That's 25 a game, and that's a lot.
Cochran not up in the line of scrimmage. He was set back like a slot back, and he has to be up on the line.
Reg Berry is the injured Argo, one of their defensive halfbacks. And he is playing today because Ed Berry is hurt, and they have to use Brazeley on the corner.
Interesting that Obilovich said Brazeley's a better corner than he is a halfback, but because they've got him at halfback, Ed Berry's also a very good corner, but it gives them better flexibility with Brazeley in the inside. If an injury happens to take place, they can move him out.
Instead of 2nd and 2, the Bombers are 2nd and 8 at the Argo 37-yard line. Time has expired in the first quarter, and if we don't have a penalty, this will be the last play. Lee Saltz thinks about running and then tries to throw. Wobbly pass that falls short of the intended receiver, Terry Cochran. A quarter complete at the Sky Dome. The Blue Bombers lead 1-0. First quarter just completed at the Sky Dome in Toronto. The Blue Bombers lead the Argos 1-0. Winnipeg put together a bit of an offensive drive, which was keyed by a quarterback draw by Lee Saltz that gained 34 yards. And now Trevor Kennard, who made 12 out of 14 of his field goal tries last year in the playoffs and Grey Cup, will attempt a 39-yarder. Bob Cameron is holder. And it's wide right. Kennard is wide right. It'll go for a single, and the Blue Bombers lead 2-0. There is a penalty flag down, though, as Kennard was hit, and there's a penalty flag.
Now, Kennard won't get up too quickly. He'll make it look like the hit really did hurt him, as he should, until he knows the play has been called and he knows it's roughing, and then he can spring up.
The kicker. Toronto number 70. First down.
You know, you seldom see a place kicker contacted. The punter gets it sometimes, but hardly ever a place kicker. Unusual. Bombers keep the ball, get a first down.
Well, the ball's well gone. It just seems like he lays out for it and rolls into him.
Well, that's a tough one to call.
It sure is.
Bombers will take it 1st and 10 at the Argo 27-yard line. Tim Jesse on a draw, and he fights ahead for maybe 5 near the Toronto 22-yard line. Jesse ran for 808 yards this year and 11 touchdowns in 12 games.
What do you got?
He's 4 for 16 today as 36-year-old Mike Riley watches the proceedings. His 3rd year as head coach of the Bombers coming to an end.
Watch if Toronto moves that middle linebacker out of the middle, what could take place. It's an ideal situation for the quarterback draw again. 2nd
and 5 at the Argo 22. Saltz is going to run. He's to the 15. Lee Saltz down to the 12-yard line. That's a Blue Bomber first down, a gain of close to 10 yards. As the running of Lee Saltz has highlighted what offense the Bombers have had.
Well, he wants to take the gap between the guard center, but they've plugged that, so he makes a nice little adjustment, tries to jump outside, does, and then gets right back up where he wanted to go in the first place. What Toronto does is they move that little linebacker out of there, says, okay, I dare you to run it again, because hopefully the front 4 or 7 are going to take it away.
1st and 10, Blue Bombers at the Argo 13. Saltz in the pocket. Forced out all night to throw, gets it away. Jeff Smith wide open, touchdown Winnipeg.
Well, Smith is so wide open, even when Saltz had been hit and the ball comes out of his hand wobbling. In many situations, if there was coverage anywhere even close, there'd be time for the defensive back to make a play, but not here. Deep in the screen over top. Smith on the right side. See, he makes that move and then goes deep. He gets away from Barry and then goes back to the corner. Nice adjustment by Smith and the Saltz to get the ball to him.
Jeff Smith, the former Argo, who has, I would say, a few hard feelings against his old team. And now the Bombers have an 8-0 lead. We are 2 minutes into the 2nd quarter at the Sky Dome. Blue Bombers 2nd down and 16 from the Argo 34. Lee Saltz tries to run up the middle and gains maybe a yard or 2. We have 2 minutes 45 seconds left in the first half. Chris Gaines, middle linebacker for the Argos, in on the tackle, and the Blue Bombers will attempt to add 3 points to their lead, which right now stands at 8-0.
Argos seem to have better success when in the pressure situation when they've moved Gaines around and brought him from different positions.
Kennard missed his first attempt, but the miss was wiped out when the Argos were called for roughing. He'll get a chance from 40 yards out, and this one he makes with 2:27 to go until halftime, and the Blue Bombers now have an 11-0 lead over the Argos here at the Sky Dome. From the Argo 35, Dave Kangemi drops the pass on his first play in the game and swings it out to Warren Hudson. And Hudson gets 4 close to 5, and the fans at the Sky Dome cheer the very fact that the Argos completed a pass. John Kangemi, in his 3rd year with the Argos from the University of Pittsburgh, the 2nd all-time passer in Pitt history behind a man named Dan Marino. Great college career. A very highly touted signing by the Argos over 3 years ago. They count on him heavily now to get something going for them. 2nd and 5 from the 40. Short drop. Kangemi tries to swing it out to Tolbert, but overthrew him. I think maybe because there was contact with Kangemi.
You could also see when he was up at the line of scrimmage, he was pointing out, almost like making sure we get these people blocked. Does everyone know what's going on? We got a linebacker coming from the short side.
The busiest Argo today. He'll punt for a 7th time. 1:56 left. First half. Argos at their 40, 3rd and 5. In the position of once again handing the ball back to Winnipeg. Penalty play down. It looked like Paul Clatney was offside for the Blue Bombers as Ken Winey catches the punt and gets it back to the 32 of Winnipeg. Paul Clatney moved early. There are 2 penalty flags on the play. Jake Ireland will talk to the men working with him, and we'll get it sorted out.
Well, there's no question, and as you say, there was movement down at the bottom of the field with Clatney just falling offside. But on the top of the screen, I don't know. That second flag.
Well, that is offside, Blue Bombers. It was 3rd and 5 for the Argos at their 40. And exactly 5 from where they have the ball marked. So this should give Toronto a first down, but they'll have to measure it and line it up now, and they may be an inch or 2 short. Let's see what Jake Ireland tells us.
Offside. Winnipeg number 29. First down.
That little jump. Offensive linemen don't have to go down in the 3-point stance. It's that simple. Just get someone leaning on those fingers too hard and ready to come off, and that's what happened.
The man with a jacket on, Lee Saltz. Sammy Garza, the backup quarterback, pardon me. And Jemmy with a first down and 10 now at the Argo 45 with the penalty against Winnipeg. A break for the Argos and a chance to maybe get something going, and it's intercepted. James West with the interception. Gets away from Jeff Boyd, his old teammate, and Kardash finally runs him down at the Argo 34-yard line.
The Winnipeg linebackers, deep drops. You watch right in front of you is Battle. He'll go deep. West is to the right side of the screen. Maybe a little deeper than normal because that safety spot isn't there, and they want to cut off that throw over that middle. And Jemmy knows right away he wants to go to another play. Calls the audible. People make the adjustment. Wasn't good enough.
So the Winnipeg defense continues to set the tone for this first half, giving the Bomber offense another great chance to score more points. Lee Saltz takes off and runs again to the 30. He'll try to go wide, brought down at the 27 of Toronto, but not before he has gained 7 more yards.
Well, when he hurt his shoulder, he went to the doctor and asked, look, is there any chance I can come back and play this year? Or am I finished for the year? And he said, because if there is a chance, I'm going to hang around because I can't stay here if I'm not going to play.
Strained rotator cuff is what West had. 2nd down and 3, Blue Bombers at the Argo 27-yard line. 1:09 left, first half. Saltz throws. Murphy can't hang on. They're rolling in a fumble. The Argos have the ball. Willie Fears comes up with it at the Toronto 31-yard line. And the Argos finally have something go their way.
That's great hustle by Willie Fears. He's in the defensive end, the right side of your screen, 78. He's working to get upfield, working hard to get off the block. Now he turns around, sees what happened. That's a catch. Now he hustles over to the sideline and picks himself up a fumble. And visions of running back just for that 1 second went through his mind. He's a guy who was a security guard in a maximum prison in Arkansas for 2 years. And the prisoners told him, he said, Dad, don't hang around here. You go play some football, and that's exactly what he's done.
He thought his football career was over and was encouraged by the inmates to try it again. Wound up in Winnipeg, played in a Grey Cup winner last year. Let go this year. Ottawa picked him up, and now he finds himself in Toronto. Jemmy will try to make something of the turnover, and his pass intended, I believe, for Bedford, but was way over his head, and there were no other Argo receivers in the area.
Well, in fairness, I think Bedford was working back to try to throw a block. And Konjemi's working towards the line of scrimmage, and I think Konjemi feels Bedford could have moved away. Bedford was just trying to help him out.
.51 seconds left in the first half. 2nd and 10 Argos at their 31-yard line. Winnipeg leading 11-0. Jemmy, lots of time, throws wide open. Mazzotti at the 50 to center field, and down at the Blue Bomber 53-yard line. Paul Mazzotti.
And no, that pass wasn't completed against a 4-4. It was the regular defense with the safety in. Bertland Cummings drops straight back. He goes deep. West moves to the right to take his coverage. Here comes Mazzotti in from the left. He gets behind the linebacker in that one gap.
From the 54, Kangemi throws, and it's no good. The pass a little bit low. And Bedford unable to get down and scoop it up. 30 seconds left in the half. The Argos at the Winnipeg 54-yard line, and don't you know they would love to get it another 20 yards downfield and at least get a field goal.
Make a big difference going in at halftime. Even though you're down, you were the last one to have the ball. You scored. Your offense is now starting to move. And that's important because you feel it's like coming out of a game with a win and playing well. You roll into the next game. Kangemi straight drop back. See him look to the left, try to look off, then looking to the right. Takes a good shot by Battle. And Battle happens to be the one now down, receiving some attention.
John Kangemi was dropped from the Argo lineup last week when they played Hamilton. Bobby McAllister dressed as the backup. Greg Battle shaken up on the play.
Willie Fears brought in to take Harold Hallman's spot, who was out with an injury, and they like what he's done in the last couple of games. Battle seems to be all right. Seems like he just jammed his neck on that shot to Kangemi.
Argo 2nd and 10 at the Winnipeg 54. 30 seconds left, first half. Kangemi, after a long count, gets a rush dancing around Michael Gray. Gets in Kangemi's way, and down he goes back at the 51. 24 seconds left in the half, and the Argos will not be able to score before the half ends. It doesn't look like it anyway.
With the pressure up the middle, first forced by West and then Gray, and that's where that pressure's been coming from. I'm surprised that Toronto showing some motion with Warren Hudson going to the outside, almost like they're going to sprint, or not sprinting.
Mike Riley says his people up front on defense have not played that well lately, but they've played very well today. 3rd down and 14. Argos at their 52. This could be the final play of the first half if there's no penalty. Good kick by Harper. Winey at the Blue Bomber 8. Flags come down as Winey returns it to the 15-yard line. No yards against the Argos will be the call. Time has expired in the first half, so it's up to Winnipeg as to whether or not they end the half by declining the penalty or run one more play.
I don't think he ever turned down an opportunity to run a play.
But you know the play they're going to run.
No yard. Toronto number 26. Decline.
Is the quarterback kneeling in the first half ending. The Bombers happy to take an 11-0 lead to the dressing room. Half begins, Dave, with the Argos kicking off, and Greg Battle has the ball and is back out near the 50-yard line of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So Lee Saltz, who had good field position throughout the entire second quarter, will again have pretty good field position to begin the first Winnipeg offensive series of the second half. Saltz carried 6 times for 64 yards in the first half.
And you know, you mentioned that field position. That's very important to a quarterback because it's just another thing he doesn't have to deal with and look around and worry about. Nice and comfortable here on this part of the field.
Argos, conversely, have been deep in their end for many of their series. Saltz steps nicely away from the pressure and then tries to get it out to the side, and it falls into the arms of Tim Jesse, and the Bombers will gain a yard on the play. Well, you know, in the losing streak, Winnipeg didn't have much go right for it, but today they've got a few bounces.
And this doesn't happen to be one of them, because this could have quite easily fallen into the hands of a linebacker or one of the rushing defensive linemen in the area. Hallman's there. Kulka's going to come up from behind.
Pass deflected. The Argos would think they could just as easily have intercepted it, but Tim Jesse gained a yard on it. 2nd and 9. Saltz with a blitz gets away from Gaines and away from a second Argo, and he'll try to run out of bounds at the Blue Bomber 52-yard line. Once again, Saltz not making a first down, but that time he didn't have the big loss tacked on.
In many situations, and it's ideal, and it's easy to sit up here and say, when you come in and blitzing a quarterback as a linebacker, you got to break down a little bit, get under control, and don't go for the big knockout hit. I think Gaines, if he slows down and gets under control a little bit, he makes the sack.
Bob Cameron with an edge in the punting game over Glenn Harper.
Cameron's also done an excellent job this afternoon kicking the ball to the corners.
See if he tries to put this one toward the side of the field, and he does. Carl Braisley moves over to catch it at the Argo 25, retreats all the way back to his 15, now looking for some room, and gets back to the 26-yard line. John Kangemi took over at quarterback from Rick Johnson with 3 minutes to go in the first half. And he will start the second half at quarterback for the Argos, and they'll be at their 26-yard line, trailing 11-0. Handoff goes to big Warren Hudson, and he has room. Stiff arms Bert Cummings, gets away from him a second time. There is a penalty flag down. Hudson all the way to the Winnipeg 38-yard line, but there is a penalty flag.
Trying to tackle Warren Hudson with your arms is like trying to throw a lasso around the bumper of a Buick going down the street. That's not easy to do.
46-yard gain for Warren Hudson. Greg Battle, it looks like, the injured Blue Bomber, but it's going to come back as the Argos just can't build any momentum.
Toronto number 10. First down repeated.
Slot back Brian Bedford caught holding on the play, and boy, when you're down 11-0, can't get any offense going. That's a killer.
There's Battle stepping inside to take on the block. Now there's the holding right there on Sampson. It was just to the left of your screen. As we continue on, we watch Battle. Now he's down after the play. We might see exactly why here. Remember, he went out a little bit earlier when he jammed his neck. Can't speculate on something like this.
Didn't get hit by anybody, but looked like he went down fairly hard. Greg and his wife Anna were just fortunate to have a second son last week. Alante is his name. He was born last Thursday. A brother for young Avery Battle. Our congratulations to them. Greg's sitting up now and looking like he will shake this latest misfortune off. Eastern nominee is the outstanding defensive player in the CFL this year. He'll go up against Danny Bass, Grey Cup week, for that award. And the Argos, instead of being at the Winnipeg 37, are 1st and 20 at their 16-yard line. Fennerty carries, gets away from Quincy Williams, and fights to the 20, maybe the 21-yard line, a gain of 5.
Well, Fennerty in many situations, as we look at Battle getting that shoulder looked at, or the arm, which he seems to have been favoring when he got up. And one of the main reasons Fennerty in any of the running game, other than that last play that was called back by the Argos, has been shutting down that running play, or the running offense.
Second down and 16 yards to go. The Argos at their 20. Kangemi to Mazzotti. Gets away from Randolph, but then is knocked down at the 29-yard line. Rod Hill in on the tackle. And the Argos come up 8 yards away from a first down, and Glenn Harper will be pressed into duty again. Mazzotti has become the Argos' most dependable receiver in these last few weeks.
At one point, I think earlier in the season, Bob Ovilovich had a concern with him holding his concentration throughout the game. But he certainly doesn't lack in speed. He's well under 4.5 in his 40. And I think he's been able to, I guess it's acquire that level of concentration, be able to hold it throughout a game.
3rd and 8 Argos at their 28. Harper gets the kick away. And it's a short one that'll bounce back into Toronto's end of the field. Ken Winey picks it up on the run. A flag comes down for no yards. We've talked about field position. The Bombers will have good field position this time. This is Foster's Canadian Football Network, the television home of the 1989 Grey Cup. 3.5 minutes into the second half at the Sky Dome. Blue Bombers 1st and 10, Argo 42. After a short Harper punt and a 7-yard return by Ken Winey. The handoff to Cochran, trying the middle, carrying for the first time in the game. And he is stopped for no gain. Chris Gaines made the hit.
Well, Gaines will make certain reads watching the offensive lineman, and of course maybe some keys in the backfield, and he's very quick to get up, get out of the way or get away from any blockers that are going to come out and get in his face and make the hit along with Bayless. And you know, the Argo offense are putting their defense in a tough situation, exchange after exchange.
Leaving them on the field for far too long. 2nd and 9. Blue Bombers, Argo 41. Saltz fakes to Jesse. Sprints left and is clobbered by Bayless. And Saltz got up. That surprises.
Boy, he takes a heck of a shot. You went boom. Exactly when Saltz did. Play action frees the defense. Watch the secondary. Everyone sits just for that 1 second. But watch Bayless accelerate right there, right up through the shoulder.
Saltz saw him at the last second, I think.
Smith trying to work Kulkos to the outside, then Cochran takes his place because they want to get to the outside.
Looked like just out of the corner of his eye, Saltz caught Bayless and was able to spin a little bit and have the blow somewhat glancing. Bob Cameron, another excellent punt. This time it goes into the end zone for a single point. Cameron does not get the desired result, which was to angle it out of bounds deep in Toronto territory. You see him shaking his head. But he actually hit the ball too well.
But you know something, and I think Mike Riley put it the best yesterday. He said when the offenses are sputtering and aren't consistent, your kicking game becomes your offensive weapon because it really gets you into better field position. And that's what's happened. And see Saltz, the helmet off, taking a bit of a break after taking that shot by that man, Gerald Bayless.
52-yard single by Cameron. It's now 12-0 Blue Bombers. 10:19 left in the third quarter. The Argo defense does its job. And now we'll watch and see if their confused offense can make anything happen. Hudson on the carry. Williams couldn't bring him down. One man usually can't. And Hudson gains a couple of yards out to about the 37-yard line.
Toronto trying to break some keys. You see Battle, good news, he's back in the game. Toronto's running Hudson. Hopefully they're going to get some movement when people go to Fennerty, and Hudson can find that seam or a hole and get back upfield against the flow.
2nd down and 8 for Kangemi and the Argos at the Toronto 37-yard line. Handoff Fennerty. Romel Andrews got Fennerty almost the instant Fennerty got the football. And that's just one line beating the other team's line.
Oh, exactly that. It's just, it becomes a war in there, and the war right now is being won by the Bombers, and Bob Obilovich has to do something to get his offensive linemen off the ball and start knocking some people back. Whether it's missed assignment, whether it's just not being physical enough, they're not cranked up enough right now.
You have to wonder a little bit, too, about a run off tackle on 2nd and 8. 3rd down and 10 Argos at their 35. Harper to punt. We've said that many times, and it's blocked by Michael Allen. Paul Clatney has a touchdown.
Well, that'll make number 3 for this year. Coming into this game, the Bombers had blocked 3, 2. Rod Hill was the blocker. This time, right up the pipe, Michael Allen, just from the left side. And I guess you could say Winnipeg got an Argo bounce right there. Clatney just scoops it up, takes it in.
Well, that's the 3rd Argo punt the Bombers have blocked this year. The other 2 were by Rod Hill. That time, Michael Allen was able to get himself free. And now the Sky Dome has become very quiet. Kennard with the convert. Penalty flag down. The convert would make it 19-0 for Winnipeg. Procedure against the Argos. That's the
or offside.
signal. Yeah.
Procedure. Winnipeg number 76. Convert is good. 5 yards to be applied on the kickoff.
8:53 left in the third quarter. It is 19-0. The Blue Bombers lead. Paul Clatney just scored a Winnipeg touchdown when Michael Allen blocked a Harper punt. The Bombers have a 19-point lead as Kennard kicks off to Michael Clemens. And Tyrone Jones has Clemens, sets him up for Bert Cummings, and then comes in to help finish him off. Bomber coverage has been excellent in their kicking game. Mike Riley, Neil, has had it all work for him, the special teams, the defense, and he's got enough offense to help build this 19-0 lead. Last year in the East Final, the Bombers blocked a Hank Olesic punt, a key part of their victory. They blocked 2 Toronto punts this year, one against Olesic, and then one against Harper, and then the one today.
The only difference is the other 3 were by Rod Hill, this one by Michael Allen.
And we could then conclude that block punts have been very damaging to the Argos. Nice pass by Kangemi, complete to Mazzotti at the 50-yard line for a gain of 13 and a first down for the Argos, a rare first down.
Michael Allen getting some extra tape, and Paul Mazzotti, when he goes off the field, in other words, when the defense is on, has an ice bag on his right hand. He's got a badly bruised right hand. And of course, the receiver doesn't want a hand all bound up, so he just takes some therapy when he gets off and when he gets a chance.
Had to use his right hand to make that catch and did it well. The 5th first down of the game for the Argos, now at their 50-yard line. Kangemi with some time, looks for Jeff Boyd, can't get it to him. The pass was low and it bounced. Boyd comes up with the ball, but no argument as he knows he did not catch it.
We're seeing the Argos move the pocket a bit. That was a straight sprint, and then a bit of a hold-up, what might be considered a throwback, where they get the backs out front, just outside the tackle, set a little pocket, give the impression they're going all the way, then the quarterback pulls up. But they are moving to get away from that rush.
Well, the Argos' regular season average was poor, but today they have really had a tough time on offense. 2nd and 10 now at their own 50-yard line. They have yet to crack the 100-yard mark in offense on the day, and they'll have trouble doing it on this play as James West, who predicted that Winnipeg would win this game, makes the sack.
They'll take him to the racetrack.
Well, West has no doubt added some life to the Bombers today.
You know, this was simply a classic example of the back stepping up to block someone and not getting a hand on anybody. When the inside linebackers blitz, running backs are supposed to step up, take those 2 backers. If they don't come, work to the outside and then out. And they're just not getting the job done.
And if you give West a little room, Neil, with his quickness and speed, he'll beat you. And he did. 3rd down and many yards to go. Argos from their 37. Harper to punt. Gets this one away. And it bounces back upfield. Now heads the other way. Picked up at the Blue Bomber 41-yard line and back up to about the 46. 7 minutes, 7 seconds left. We're in the 3rd quarter at the Sky Dome, and the Blue Bombers in control of the East semifinal, leading 19-0.
This is my auntie, Rose, Grandma, Mom, Chick, family at home. See y'all after the cup.
James West
Time though. This one is guaranteed.
will soon be 32 years of age. 8th year in the CFL, his 5th with Winnipeg. And he's played a role today, as the Bombers expected he would. James Murphy, the hit screen is anticipated nicely by the Argos, and they stop it for little or no gain, maybe a loss.
Just a great read by Major. He squats up before the snap of the ball, then he sees people coming out at him, and he gets underneath the blocks and times it when the ball gets there. He was there. Just a great defensive play.
Major injured earlier, but obviously back and functioning just fine. A 5-yard loss for the Bombers, back to their 41-yard line, and that's offensive lineman Bob Molly, the Bombers' right guard, who was shaken up on that last play.
Might be an opportunity now for Nick Benjamin to get some playing time. He's now back in playing shape, or as close to it, I think, as he's going to get this year.
Linebacker James West of the Blue Bombers with some thoughts on what his return would mean to the Bombers in their lineup today.
Well, I'm excited about it. After a 5.5-week layover, it's been a long time coming. I think not only myself is excited, but I think my team is excited about it too, because we think our effort has been there throughout the losing streak, but we have a second chance, and the playoffs are starting and we're ready to play.
Players talked a lot this week about what West's return would mean. what kind of a spark it would give the Bomber defense and the team in general.
His attitude is infectious. His play is infectious, whether it's an interception, whether it's a big hit. And that hit could come on special teams. It could come on a good defensive play or a sack like we've seen him done. Some players have that gift of making the big plays. He's one of them.
An impact player. He's been referred to that way many times. That's exactly what he is. The Argos haven't had anybody make a play for them today that would give them impact. They did have a little earlier in this quarter a big run by Warren Hudson, but that was taken away by a penalty. And when we look back on this game, that will rate as one of the very important sections of it, because Toronto had a chance to get something going and lost it with the penalty. Saltz on 2nd and 15. Bombers at their 41-yard line. Draw play, Tim Jesse, and he'll lose another yard or two. Harold Hallman makes the stop on Tim Jesse.
I'm seeing the Argo defense fly around trying to make some big hits, but I still haven't seen that attitude in their offense yet. I mean, you can still, people say you have to be a little bit more passive to play offense. That's wrong. You can get downfield, offensive and hustle, running backs downfield. If you get a chance to knock somebody down, you should. The defense has got that attitude. The offense doesn't for the Argos yet.
3rd down and 16. Blue Bombers at their 46 minutes left. 3rd quarter, the clock running. Cameron, high kick. Mike Clemens at the 25 of the Argos, and he's down at the 29, maybe the 30, across the 30-yard line. Foster's Lager and the Canadian Football Network, bringing you the best of the CFL all the way to the Grey Cup. John Ulmer playing his first game as a Winnipeg Blue Bomber and enjoying it immensely, one would guess. The Bombers leading the Argos 19-0 with 5:45 left, 3rd quarter. Argos from their 31. Kangemi wanted to throw long. The Bombers changed his mind with a good rush, and Kangemi winds up gaining a couple of yards on a scramble.
Well, just when Kangemi's ready to unleash the ball deep, someone jumps up, I believe it was Williams, gets in his face, makes him pull it back down. You know, it goes to the old saying, Don Matthews said this to me a few weeks ago, that you don't always have to have sacks. Just get them so they have to kick the ball away. And those types of things, getting the quarterback to pull the ball down and run, and you've got good coverage around the interior of the line, are just about as good.
2nd down, Argos, 8 yards to go at their 32-yard line. Kangemi sprints to the right, looks for Mazzotti, finds him up at the 46-yard line. Mazzotti ducked just before James West was able to lay a forearm on his helmet. The Argos have another 1st down.
Kangemi has the ability to get outside physically, but you can't do it unless you get the blocks. And at that point, Hudson, at the point of attack coming to that side, does a good job of blocking Williams.
And the Argos will go with a hurry-up offense, Neil, trying to sustain something. Kangemi pointing to the Winnipeg defense, changing the play, or calling the play at the line, I guess. Lots of time for Kangemi to Mazzotti at the Bomber 38-yard line. Down at the 37, Daryl Sampson made the stop.
Well, bruised hand or not, and this comes a time in the game where it's a bruised hand, a bruised ankle, sore knee, it doesn't matter. You've got to come up and get the job done. And right now, Toronto stays in that hurry-up offense as they feel the momentum. Maybe a bit start to swing towards their side. 4
minutes left, 3rd quarter. Argos at the Bomber 37-yard line. They haven't scored yet in the game. Will they on this drive? Quincy Williams and Greg Battle sack Kangemi back at the 45-yard line.
A stunt that brought Williams from the outside back underneath. You'll see him come right into the picture. He normally rushes to the outside as the rush end position. This time, he gets some help by Michael Gray, who comes across his face, grabs the guy who may be supposed to block him or slows him down, and he comes back and loops in for the sack.
Last one, get back, right over.
Argos had a 4-0 lead in the sack department. That's one category where the Bombers are trailing, but only by 1 now, 4-3. 3 minutes left, 3rd quarter. Winnipeg leading 19-0. Argos 2nd and 18 at the Winnipeg 45. Here's Jeff Boyd with his first catch of the game, and he will score. Touchdown.
Just a great play. First off, Jimmy gets some time to throw. The good protection by the offensive line. It's a deep pattern in Boyd, and you'll see when he catches the ball. He's limping a little bit. He's still not 100% from coming back from that ankle injury. But he does a great job of getting back inside and then straight upfield.
44 yards. John Kangemi to Jeff Boyd. And the Argos finally make a play that gets the fans at the Sky Dome off their hands and puts some life in that Toronto bench. And
better excite the players, too. The fans can jump around all they want, but that has to turn the volume up for the players. Defense have been hanging in tough pretty much so far. The offense has to continue to crank it up and play with that type of intensity that got them to the goal line in that drive.
And it'll be interesting to see how the Bombers now react to this. Chomick makes the convert. Not been able to do anything on offense in this second half. They blocked a kick for a touchdown. Do you think they can win this game unless they get some offense going? They have a 12-point lead.
I don't think you can ever sit back on your laurels on what you've done the first half. I think the Argos realized, and John Kangemi more than anyone, that he has to start making the reads downfield and finding receivers. Doesn't get the best view of his completion, but knows he needs a few more of them.
Rather matter-of-factly watched Boyd go into the end zone. The Bombers botch the return. Jesse finally gets a handle on the ball and then is down at the 10-yard line. So the shift in momentum continues. Let's get some thoughts from Dave Hodge and Nick Mastaya.
During parts of their scoring drive, the Argos went without a huddle, obviously to conserve time, but it seems to be effective in another way.
Well, it certainly is, because what it does, it forces the Bombers to keep their defense simple. They can't shuttle in players in and out, and that middle is open, and they should take a little more advantage of the passes over the middle like they did there. It's open.
And Jimmy to Boyd, and the Argos are back in it.
Bombers from their 10-yard line. Lee Schultz, the toss to Jesse, left side, and down at the 10-yard line. Duran Major makes the stop, and the fans have now become a factor.
Many situations considered the 13th man, and maybe that's just going to help increase the intensity on the field for the players. It may also make it tough for Lee Schultz if he gets in a situation where he wants to call a play off, to let the other players know what that play is. And that, in fact, could lead to a breakdown if communication is cut like that.
2nd and 11, Blue Bombers at their 10-yard line. Schultz to Jesse on a draw, stopped initially, was then able to fight his way off and gain 5 or 6 yards out to the 15, but 5 yards away from a first down. And with 1:48 left in the third quarter, Winnipeg will have to kick the ball back to Toronto.
Watch Gaines makes the play right here. I'm sorry, Hallman. But now he's back on his feet, and he's going to make the play again downfield. I mean, that's... If you want to look up hustle, you might find his picture in the dictionary beside it, at least for this game.
Bombers have had absolutely no success with their running game with Jesse, although Schultz did some good running in the first half. Bob Cameron now to punt. 3rd down and 5 at the Winnipeg 15. And this one will bounce out of bounds at the Winnipeg 48-yard line. So Kangemi gets good field position to work with, and he hasn't had that very often today. You hope. He hopes he's going away again next week. Stan Mikowas beside Lyle Bauer. As Perry Tuttle looks like he'll be able to continue in the game. 14 minutes, 40 seconds left. Winnipeg 19, Toronto 7. The winner plays Hamilton next Sunday. Lee Schultz, Winnipeg's quarterback, has accounted for 189 of Winnipeg's 224 yards in offense, either through his running or his passing. And right now, he'll face a 2nd and 10 at the Bomber 29. Murphy diving, can't make the catch. Had he made it, they'd have still been 5 yards away from a first down.
Once again, the Argonaut defense were called up in a tough situation. Try to get the Winnipeg offense to go that that usual 2 and out. That's the ideal situation.
Bob Cameron has kicked a couple of singles today and has done a strong job punting. Michael Allen is lined up wide right, and Cameron will kick it to that side. And it kind of drifts back into the center of the field, and Clemens has it and then stumbles and is down at the 40-yard line. There are some Winnipeg fans at the Sky Dome. I don't think very many. We just looked at 3 of them. If there are any more, we'll try to locate them for you. The Toronto ones are making all the noise now. Gil Finnerty on a first down carry from the Argo 40 is a gain of a yard. Only Finnerty's 3rd carry of the second half.
Harold Hallman in the last series came off receiving some attention to one of the fingers on his left hand.
Finnerty has carried 10 times in the game for 33 yards. Second down and 9. Argos again go without the huddle from their 41-yard line. Kangemi is sacked. James West and Romel Andrews got through.
A very dejected Kangemi and maybe a little bit bumped up. Watch the blocking situation. Who's got who and who comes free, and it's just simply a man getting beaten, just flat out beaten.
And there are some pressure situations as a quarterback, Neil, you can move away, but Kangemi had no chance that time to get out of the way. 3rd down and 17. Argos. Harper's punt is another short one, and Petway on the run catches it and almost found an opening down the right side. Tackled at the 30, make that the 47-yard line of the Argos. And there's also a penalty flag, which would be no yards against the Argos.
No yard. Toronto number 8. The 5-yard penalty. Decline. First down.
Bombers decline and take the return. That Harper punt netted the Argos 14 yards. Left the Bombers excellent field position at the Toronto 47. So that's an advantage the Argos have now lost, is field position. Jesse carries on first down and gets 3 yards into the Toronto 44-yard line. So the Bombers, Neil, have been able to weather the storm that was created when Kangemi threw the touchdown pass to Jeff Boyd. Kangemi trying to work a little kink out of his left arm.
Well, he, I believe, separated or dislocated his left shoulder earlier on in the year, which forced him to miss a number of games, and it seems like he's taking some pretty good shots.
Second down, Blue Bombers, 7 yards to go at the Argo 43. 12 minutes left. Quarterback draw, Lee Saltz. He's to the 40, breaks a tackle to the 35, down near the 30 of the Argos. That's the play that highlighted Winnipeg's offense in the first half, and Saltz makes it work at a critical point of the game here in the 4th quarter.
And it's all when the opportunity presents itself. Again, look at what a great job. And not a bad move there. You've got a blitzing safety, Floyd Salazar. That play should have been stopped at the line of scrimmage. They had him dead to rights. Just a couple little shake and bake, and Saltz is downfield.
Doran Major and Harold Hallman both left in Lee Saltz's wake, and you wouldn't expect that. Saltz only goes 6'1" and 195, but he has done quite a job today. Lee Saltz in his 2nd professional start. His first was last week in Ottawa. 8 carries, 79 yards.
Well, he's done everything that has been asked of him, and also a little bit more. Mike Riley said to us yesterday, you know, we don't have to be outstanding or sparkling. What we have to do is be efficient, because efficient is good enough to win football games.
We talked to Mike Riley, and we wondered if he has spoken with his dad, Bud, during the Bombers' 7-game losing streak.
Talked to him a lot, and he, of course, the first thing that he says to me is that, you know, you're always going to have these times, and it's not always going to be good, and hopefully it won't always be bad. It seems like it always has been bad lately, but the point that he makes to me is hang in there, and, you know, it always accentuates some of the things that are going on that are good. We can play good enough defense to win. We have a good enough kicking game to win, and if our offense can come around and be consistent, those are the kinds of things that he sees and he's passed on to me, and you know, I think are very accurate.
Mike Riley also has a new diet for the CFL. He said the other day he weighed himself and he was down to 161 pounds. I think normally he's a little bit heavier than that. And all you have to do is go on the diet, is become a head coach in the CFL, lose 6 or 7 games in a row. Guaranteed to lose 18 pounds.
It's a diet that works, not the kind you want to follow very often, but it works. We have 11 minutes and 39 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Winnipeg 19, Toronto 7. And the Blue Bombers at the Argo 30-yard line with a 1st and 10. Saltz with time, looks for James Murphy wide open at the 12-yard line, knocked out. They'll mark him out at the Argo 13. James Murphy has a history of coming through in the playoffs, and he's doing it today.
Earlier on in the football game, the balls that were thrown by Lee Saltz got there, but they were a little bit wobbly. Murphy makes a cut, comes back to the ball, nice tight spiral. Again, plenty of time to throw the ball, and the ball was thrown exactly in the right spot, so Murphy could hook up with it.
12 postseason games in his career. Murphy caught 53 passes, 957 yards, and 10 touchdowns. That gain was 17 yards. Bombers 1st and 10 at the Argo, 13. Jesse carries, stumbles, regains his balance, and is knocked out at the Argo 10. Murphy has caught 6 passes today for 50 yards. Jesse got off to a great start this season. He was averaging 100 yards a game over the first few games, but then got nicked by some injuries, missed a few games, and has never really regained the form that he showed early. 11 carries, 45 yards today. 2nd down and 7. Blue Bombers at the Argo 10. Saltz with time, and it's knocked down. Tony Visco got a handout to knock the pass away.
Well, Visco was engaged with the offensive lineman, Steve Rhoda Huskers. And he was well blocked out of the play. He takes his arm. Look at the right side of your screen. Right hand, he's going to swing it over top, just like waving at somebody. He's being blocked, he's out of the play, yet he makes the play.
Trevor Kennard will attempt a field goal from the 17-yard line. Bob Cameron to hold. And Kennard punches it through. We have 10 minutes, 10 seconds left in the fourth quarter. It's now Winnipeg 22, Toronto 7. Bob Abelovich has been in 3 Grey Cups in his 8 years with the Argos. Won one in '83, lost in '82 and '87. And looking on rather desperately now, hoping his team can rally here. Kangemi rolling out on 1st down and throwing to Boyd, but he's out of bounds. I don't think he caught the ball either, but had he would have been ruled out of bounds. 9:53 left, fourth quarter. Winnipeg a 15-point lead.
Well, the Argos trying to get to the outside. We've seen them try to run the ball with Fennerty with little success. They have better luck when they sprint. That situation really, ball in the middle of the field, 3 receivers set to one side, 1 to the backside, trying to flood an area and trying to get a mismatch or someone to make that one mistake just for a second on coverage.
3 receivers wide left this time. Bedford, Boyd, and Tolbert. 2nd and 10 Argos at their 35. Mazzotti, the lone man to the right. Kangemi gets the play off just in time and completes it to Mazzotti at the 45, and he makes a nice little move and gets out near center field, and Argo 1st down.
Well, you saw Kangemi, or what it looked to be audible on the line of scrimmage. Coverage showed that Mazzotti to the backside could get in on a quick slant. That's exactly what they did. His recognition of defenses on the line of scrimmage really dictates what kind of success they can have.
No huddle offense. Kangemi rolling left and throws, and the pass comes up short, intended for Jeff Boyd. Mazzotti has now caught 6 of the 9 passes the Argos have completed today. And those 6 for 104 yards.
I was going to say, it makes a great day for Mazzotti, but you wonder where's guys like Emmanuel Tolbert. We saw Boyd catch one big one. Brian Bedford, where's he been?
Oh, you mentioned Tolbert. There's a name that you'd expect to see in a game like this, any game for that matter. Kangemi on second down. He throws long down the right side, and Rod Hill breaks it up. It was intended for Jeff Boyd.
Both times the Argonauts have gone long to the outside. First situation, Les Brown played it very well. Petway came up with an interception, and this time Rod Hill, good position to the inside, and the ball either not thrown far enough downfield or to the enough to the outside.
Kangemi still favoring his left shoulder, Neil. We might see Rick Johnson again. It looked like he was heading over to warm up. He started the game, taken out late in the second quarter. 3rd down and 10, Argos at their 53. It's a fake. Ryan Hansen across the 50 to the Bomber 49, and he did not get the first down. He came up 2 or 3 yards short of the first down. Ken Petway made the tackle.
Everyone becomes an actor. Harper's going to jump, direct snap to the right side, the right up back. There's a huge hole. Petway just gets, makes the jump. Good defensive play before he's blocked and stops him about a yard short.
Big play by Ken Petway, very alert, because Hansen certainly had the room. Obilovich perhaps wondering why nobody was able to block Petway. But the Bombers take over at their 49, 8 minutes left. Winnipeg leading by 15. Jesse runs into Chris Walby and battles ahead for a couple of yards, maybe 3. To the Winnipeg 52-yard line. Willie Plesson fears a group of them in on the stop. That must be very discouraging for the Toronto defense. Neil, and this has gone on for so long. They play fairly well, but their offense just can't do anything to help them.
The same situation that has been happening all year. When they've played well and stayed close, as you've mentioned earlier, statistic, they haven't scored a lot of scored over 20 points in a lot of games this year, and that doesn't win a lot of football games.
2nd down and 7. Saltz wants to throw and does to the sideline, but way over the head of Perry Tuttle. It was a case of Saltz, I think, being cautious. One of the things Mike Riley said was, we don't need to generate a lot of offense, but we have to be careful and not give the other team any big plays on their defense.
And you know what else Saltz has done today, and exactly what Mike Riley said they had to do, was not make any glaring mistakes by, for example, throwing the ball into the flat and sort of crossing your fingers and hoping it's going to get there when it could turn out to be an interception. He's done the best with what's been given to him without making any big mistakes.
Camera to punt. Clemens at the 20-yard line. They could use a big one here, could the Argos, but Clemens is not going anywhere. He's been corralled all day. Stopped at the 25-yard line. 6 minutes, 57 seconds left, 4th quarter. Well, the Argos need 15 points in 6 minutes and 50 seconds. The clock is now running. Toronto starting at its 25-yard line. Kangemi stays in and throws to the sideline, but Mazzotti had broken it upfield, and the pass was behind him. Darrell Smith in the blue sweater at the Argo bench, not in the lineup today. He's not injured. Their leading receiver this season. Bob Obilovich decided to go with 4 other pass catchers and left Smith out of the picture, and Smith was not happy and said so more than once. Argos from their 25, 2nd and 10. Jimmy, and I don't know where that one was going. I guess to Mazzotti, but he sort of threw his arms up and said, well, I was in the right spot.
Well, Kangemi, I think, rolling to one side, trying to throw back over. They've got the coverage to the inside and thinking Mazzotti was going to go to the post, then come back to the corner or come back to the sidelines. Now they're going to check it out on the replay machine to see who made the mistake.
They're all looking at the Jumbotron here at the Sky Dome to see what went wrong. Many things have gone wrong for the Argos on offense today, and A lot of that due to the Winnipeg defense. The kick by Harper caught by Smith at the Argo 50. Another short punt and another no yards penalty. All right, let's bring in Dave Hodge and Nick Pastaya.
Nick, you get the feeling they could play all night. The Argos could change quarterbacks, could change personnel, but in terms of changing their effectiveness, there's just been no adjustment from the start of this game.
No, they look disorganized. They don't look like they really know what's going out there. The offensive line has not exploded off the ball and blocked anyone. They're not even sure of their blocking assignments, and it's obvious that the quarterbacks and the receivers right now are not on the same page.
And taking Gil Fennerty out of the game was done in the first half. We have not mentioned his name in the second half.
And that was their mandate going into the game. If we can turn him off, we can win the game.
Bob?
That punt, Dave, by Harper, net 11 yards with the no yards penalty. So the Bombers are at the Argo 36-yard line. Jesse runs on first down and gains only 2, but he pushes the clock down to 5 minutes and 40 seconds left. Winnipeg 15 points in front and looking pretty good right now.
Dave Hodge just mentioned about Fennerty being taken out of the game effectively. He has, in fact, done that. We've all seen that, but I'm surprised, especially after Bob Obilovich mentioned yesterday that we might see Clemens in the backfield. He adds another dimension to that offense. Why haven't we seen him in there? You know, he's good out of the backfield. He becomes a fifth receiver for you.
A lot of things about the Argo offense that you're left to wonder about. 2nd down and 8, and that's to take nothing away from Winnipeg's defense. Salts to James Murphy. First down at the 21-yard line of the Argos. Well, after today's game, we will pick a Foster's most valuable player and talk to him. Blue Bombers in front 22-7. Lee Saltz has been a major factor for them, as have a number of players on defense. James West, one of those. But right now it's Saltz in the Winnipeg offense. 1st and 10 at the Argo 21-yard line. The toss to Jesse. Right side. And he spins off 2 Argos and gets down to the 18-yard line for a gain of 3.
The other thing we haven't seen from Winnipeg today that I guess has been plaguing them for the last number of games is drop footballs.
Yep.
And we've seen them, whether it's concentration, whatever the reason, they haven't been dropping the footballs. Everyone that has been thrown to in an area have been caught.
Long faces at the Argo bench. Those belong to Bedford and Boyd. 2nd down, Blue Bombers. 7 yards to go at the Argo 18. 4 minutes left in the 4th quarter now. Saltz throws. Rick House wide open to the 5. Touchdown! And if it wasn't already done, that one should do it for the Blue Bombers and push them ahead to the Eastern Final.
It almost seemed like the Argonaut defense backed off when they saw House was close to the sidelines. Yeah, anyone who knows Rick House and have seen him play can't believe for a minute that he's going to step out of bounds being 5 yards away from a touchdown. That was just dogged determination to get that ball in the end zone with not a lot of room and with a lot of Argonauts coming down on top of you.
And Kennard adds the convert, and it's now 29-7 Blue Bombers. 3:59 left. What a day for Lee Saltz. Of course, the score last year in the Eastern Final was 29-11 for the Blue Bombers against the Argos in Toronto.
It's a half roll. He starts to pull up just a little bit before he throws because Fears has penetration up the field. But that wasn't enough to disrupt the play. Downfield, take that coverage. See the confusion right there between number 7, Braisley, and Barry, 21. That allows House to get to that flat and just catch the ball. After that, you expect them to come over, corral him, and knock him out of bounds.
And the Bombers, Neil, haven't done anything exotic on offense today. Saltz has run that quarterback draw. They've run some basic bread and butter pass plays, but they've played catch effectively. Very simple execution, I think they call it. Mike Riley's been saying that all through the losing streak. We can't execute. They have today, and the Argos haven't. And this kick return, Michael Allen is down to stop Darnell Graham at the Argo 26-yard line. Well, we talked about production from the quarterback position, and the Bombers have received it today from Lee Saltz, and the Argos have not. More Bomber fans. We knew there were more of them here. And they are coming to the 4 now.
Well, they just wanted to make sure everything was pretty much settled before they put those shirts on and jumped out in the front.
They feel safe to be waving their arms in the air now. Kangemi will stay on at quarterback for the Argos from their 28-yard line. Sprints to the right. Has all night to throw. And finally gets it to Mazzotti. Upfield at the 41-yard line. That's a Toronto first down. But 22 points down. The Argos need to get the ball to the other end of the field in a hurry.
Well, we saw Winnipeg come out with a new wrinkle on defense, doing that 4-4-4 earlier on, and then they occasionally shuffling in Bertland Cummings at safety. They've primarily been in that regular set with 5 defensive backs.
Argos from their 41-yard line. Kangemi scrambling away nicely. Here he goes again. And swings it out to Warren Hudson, who's tripped up at the 40, fumbles the ball, but they say he was down. James West made the play, though, stopping Hudson for a loss of a yard. And a late penalty flag comes down as there was an exchange between Bombers and Argos. And 3 seconds left in the 4th quarter at the Sky Dome. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers look like they're headed for the East Final in Hamilton next weekend. Toronto Argonauts second down and a long way to go back from their 25-yard line. Kangemi thought about dumping it off, knew that wouldn't do them any good, and then winds up being dropped at the 26-yard line for a gain of a yard. The story in the game, Lee Salt's a big part of it. 251 yards in total offense. That's his running and passing yards. Bombers have stopped Gil Fennerty. They've blocked a punt for a touchdown. And Mazzotti, the bright spot for the Argos, 7 catches for 117 yards.
Well, it's been a while since Mike Riley's football team has been able to realize what they had planned to do going into it. It's one thing to put it on paper and, you know, as the week progresses, figure out what you want to be able to do against an opposing team, but I think they've been able to accomplish pretty much everything they set out to do.
Jeff Smith with the Harper kick at the 50, and there's been a discrepancy in the kicking game as well, with Cameron out punting Glenn Harper rather decidedly. 2:37 left in the game. I think we can say in the game now.
Mike Riley made a comment the other day that he'd be hard-pressed to say his offense has even been one-dimensional this year, but I think they've showed in this game by moving the pocket around, involving different players, receivers, and primarily Lee Saltz, they have become more of a multi-dimensional type of offense, and now they can work from that and take that into next week.
Bombers from their 50. Lee Saltz hands off to Jesse on first down, and he gains maybe 3 yards. You know, Neil, in the 3 games these teams played this year, we talked about it earlier, they had a grand total of 76 penalties. That's 25 penalties per game. And a lot of those were the rough play and that kind of thing, which highlighted the animosity and the fire between the 2 teams. But that has been missing today.
And I'm a little bit surprised. Not that I expected it to get ugly and people to start throwing fists, but I think except for that one window of about 3 minutes where the enthusiasm in the dome here was up and Toronto was starting to move the ball, did I really see people starting to fly around and push and shove when they get up. I think that's an important part of a game emotionally, because I think it has something to do with the outlook or the outset. So
maybe it tells us something about the Argos.
Yes, it does.
Mike Riley never stopped believing that he had a better football team on paper than the Bombers have shown for the last 2 months. There are some very talented players on this team. For any number of reasons, they've been unable to put it together, but they are putting it together today. Here's a look at the scoring summary in the second half. Paul Clatney with a touchdown after Michael Allen blocked a Harper punt, which really put Winnipeg in charge. And Jeff Boyd gave the Argos some life with a touchdown catch, a pass from John Kangemi late in the 3rd, but Toronto couldn't keep that with them. Kennard with a field goal early in the 4th, and then Lee Saltz to Rickhouse for the last touchdown that has been scored in the game. And with 2.5 minutes to go, it's 29-7 for the Blue Bombers.
Right now, Willie Fears got his legs caught up in that pile, his body twisted one way and the bottom part of the legs going the other, and he's receiving some assistance.
Talk about the Argo offensive problems. Only 3 times in 18 games this year did they score 25 points or more. 3 games with more than 25, 15 with 25 or fewer. And with the scoring that goes on in the CFL, when those statistics are confronting you, you know you've got problems on offense.
Well, I think there's a pretty good team out west that may have never scored fewer than 25 points in a game. Or if they have, it's only been a couple times.
And they're at the other end of the sphere, the Edmonton Eskimos.
Actually, when they did that offensively and they were held in check, it was done by these Toronto Argonauts in this defense.
That's right. Argos beat Edmonton and then lost a tough game in Edmonton in back-to-back series early in the season. The Argos were 4-3 at one stage and lost 5 games in a row, and that set them back, and they've never fully been able to recover. Blue Bombers from their 53 now. Tim Jesse carries. And the Argos don't offer a lot of resistance on that play as Jesse gets close to a first down.
Tighten it up, tighten it up.
2 minutes left at the Sky Dome. The clock is running. Well, the Hamilton Tiger Cats have some thoughts on whether or not the Bombers are going to the Grey Cup. As Jesse carries again. Jeff Boyd and Darrell Smith commiserating at the Argo bench. Wouldn't you love to hear what they're talking about?
All right, Big Luke, Jake, you're going to be 3 years old soon. All right. Hi, Caroline.
That's Trevor Kennard's family back home that he's talking to and about. Got anybody you'd like to say hello to, Neil? 1:20 left. Saltz is going to throw. He wants to anyway. Sidearms it to Battle. And Greg Battle is out of bounds at the Argo 42-yard line as the Bombers on 2nd and 8 put Battle in and threw it past him. Kind of a strange play with the game tucked away.
Well, they're running out of their short yardage offense, and Battle comes in as a tight end. They're going to keep things close. They won't want to get too fancy. Their wide receivers are out, and they're just going to put the big guys in there to slug it out for another 1:17.
3rd down, Blue Bombers, 2 yards to go at the Argo 42, and they'll send out their punt team. You know, I go back to a play in the first quarter where the Argos, Neil, were 3rd and a foot, if that, at the Winnipeg 44-yard line, and they sent out their punting team. You wonder what effect that might have on a team that offensively doesn't have much confidence to begin with. Cameron, another good high punt. Clemens a yard in the end zone, and he'll run around and then concede the single point that makes it 30-7 for Winnipeg with 1:07 left.
We're talking about taking Gil Finnerty out of the football game in respect to running the football on offense. They've done a great job, they being Winnipeg, of kicking the ball away from Clemens thanks to Bob Cameron, and then when he does get the ball in play, getting around him, just really corralling him and just limiting any games. I think maybe the furthest he's taken the ball back upfield is 6 or 7 yards. And that's not an easy job against a guy like that.
Gil Finnerty, a free agent at the end of this season, actually next spring. Says he will keep all of his options open as to where he plays next year. Jemmy from the 35 getting time now, but can't find any open receivers. Slips it out to Hudson, and he's up to the 44-yard line of Toronto for a gain of 9.
I don't think we pointed out enough what a good job the secondary of the Bombers have done. We've seen Kangemi with plenty of time to throw the football and looking downfield and then having to choose his running backs. I mean, they have to be 3, maybe 4 on the list of priorities of who the reads come to.
2nd down, Argos less than a yard from their 45-yard line. They'll go without a huddle. Kangemi will again swing it out to Hudson, and he drops the pass. Hudson couldn't hold on to the ball. All it becomes elementary now with 49 seconds left.
Well, there's nothing anyone can tell Mike Rowley now, be it on the bench or from the boxes upstairs, the spotter's booth.
Well, Bob Obilovich going through his longest season. He did have one other year where the Argos struggled. That was in '85. But they were expected to be so good this year with the 14-4 record last year and just about everybody back. But it's all fallen apart on Bob Obilovich.
It's funny, can we look as far back as when they lost to Edmonton in that Grey Cup game? And from that point on, they were expected to be back in that Grey Cup the following year. And from that point, they've just sort of disintegrated a little bit by a little bit until this year.
Well, there are some who don't feel they ever recovered from last year's Eastern Final. Neil, when Winnipeg came in here and upset them. Here's Finnerty on a third down carry, and he runs for 12 yards and an Argo first down. Well, the last time Winnipeg won a football game was way back in September. It was at BC Place. It was in overtime against the Lions. Sean Salisbury threw this touchdown pass to James Murphy as the Bombers beat the Lions, then lost the following week in overtime to Hamilton, and that began their skid. And Jemmy tries to throw and is hit by Hatziano, and a flag comes down as Hatziano will be called for a late hit on John Kangemi, and then the Argos go after Hatziano.
And as they should. I mean, it's about time they get upset about someone taking shots or being at the other end of the hit, and Kangemi did take it in the back.
And when I was talking earlier about the penalties, Neil, of course, I wasn't referring to this kind of thing, but I think when you have penalties that involve rough play and late hits during a game, you know.
Roughing the passer. Winnipeg number 44. First down.
That the teams are emotionally up for the game. That's a signal anyway that they are. But today that hasn't been the case. Certainly not on Toronto's side.
No, you're right. The pace of the hitting really dictates the type of aggressiveness they feel for one another. You know, they're flying in there, hitting around the piles, knocking people down, blocking people downfield. That really sets the tempo. And we've only seen one team do it.
Yeah, and that team leads 30-7. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers in front, headed for the Eastern Final. Kangemi throws deep, and it's knocked down by Les Brown. It was intended for Jeff Boyd. Well, Kangemi knows they can't win the game, but he wants the Argos to go out with their heads high and working till the last minute.
Well, you have to keep trying to get the ball in the end zone, whether it be 2 minutes left or 24 seconds left, as it is right now. And you're right, it doesn't mean anything on this. It'll mean something on the scoreboard. Won't help you win the game, but it's still an accomplishment.
24 seconds left. Kangemi tackled by Romel Andrews and Michael Gray. Winnipeg defensive front has had a strong game. 18 seconds left. And the Argos on third down and 12 will undoubtedly go for it on what could be the final play of the game. Jemmy passes complete to Darnell Graham, and he steps out of bounds at the Bomber 28-yard line. It looks like he got enough for the first down. 6 seconds to go, so we'll have at least one more play.
I've been frustrated in losing football games, but I don't really know if I can appreciate how frustrated Bob Obilovich is right now.
Frustrated and angry, it looks to me, Neil. Kangemi throws for Tolbert in the end zone, and he can't hang on. It looked like a catchable football. And on that note, appropriate note perhaps, the game ends. The Blue Bombers, for the 8th time in the 80s, will go to a final game. They've been in 5 West finals. This will be their 3rd trip to the East final. 3 straight years now. Mike Riley and the Blue Bombers will be in Hamilton next week, and Riley hoping that maybe he's back here in 2 weeks' time for the Grey Cup game in the Sky Dome. Bombers over the Argos 30-7 in the Eastern semifinal.